What is up, everybody? CP and SJ here from Every Day We're Covering with college football picks for you. College football season is upon us here for 2025-26. I've been waiting for this moment, and now we actually get to finally deliver some picks and watch some games here, SJ. So exciting time of year. Everybody's team's undefeated right now. Let's get after it.
It's one of those things where we mock week zero until it's week zero. Then we're like, hell yeah, let's go. So that's where I'm. I mean, I'm not the one to mock. I've been always like, sooner the better is good for me. And I get why sometimes it doesn't, it's not ideal considering, location, weather, and all that type of stuff. But you're going to overseas, why not? Let's get it cracking early.
Yeah, we got one across the pond to start things off that we'll talk about here, and a few other games that are going on as well. There are actually a handful of games if you want to take them in coming up on Saturday here for this week zero lineup. We will go ahead and start with the one that's going to kick it off over there in Dublin as they get the Aer Lingus Classic kicked off between Iowa State, Kansas State. Farmageddon, of course, always a fun conference matchup between these two teams. They've historically played some pretty fun games as well, especially with over the last decade, it seems. A lot of these have come down to the wire. And SJ, I'll give you first crack at it here. What are you looking at in this one?
Well, I mean, it's tough. Not only is it familiar opponents, but you add in the variables of travel and starting early. I mean, starting your season with usually it's like maybe you ease your way in and get a directional school or maybe somebody you feel like it's a pretty sure thing. But in this case, it's about as 50-50 as you can get if you look across the books and at the lines. They're kind of feeling the same way too. And I mean, you don't like last year doesn't matter. That's always what you say going into a new year. But damn, I mean, when you have week one, it's like, what else do you have to look at? There's no other games. I mean, you just gotta piece it together the best you can. That's kind of what I looked at here. And of course, I just when I say that 50-50 thing, it's like that's kind of leading into my pick here. Is like I can't really pick one side either way. I could see it going any number of ways. So I'm gonna look at that total. I think is where I'm gonna play at and go that route. A little bit leery here. We got a 49 and a half point total here is what I got the book I was shopping. So it doesn't seem ordinarily high, but at the same time, it's like week one is sometimes where your offenses are a little bit sluggish or maybe not, kind of not rolling on all cylinders, which is understandable. It's week one. So that gives me a little bit of, pause. But at the same time, even in like a late November game last year and damn, below freezing temperatures there in Ames, it was still, they hit the 50-point total on that, a 29-21 Iowa State win. So if we're looking at that, and I assume the conditions will be better. I think both teams have enough weapons on offense to score either way. So I'll go ahead and take the over on that one. I know it's not exciting or like, oh man, going on a limb or nothing like that. But both I could see both having good seasons, and it's just really hard to say like in week one where it's like, I'm really confident that it's going to come out and put the hammer down this early in the year.
Yeah, this is I'm with you on how this is obviously tough to figure out and which way to go on this. And I guess I'm playing maybe against a little bit of my fan instincts a little because the nature would be to do exactly what you just did. But I think I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go under in this game because I just feel like I know that the two quarterbacks are good, and that would tell you that they are going to score points. But Iowa State does have to replace two receivers that were taken in the NFL draft. You've got a running back coming back that is still kind of getting back up to speed after it was kind of banged up for a while there in Carson Hansen. Sama will be back a little bit more healthy as well, so that should boost them. But I feel like these two teams usually have good defenses at times as well. And I think that's where Iowa State's strength is going to help them at the start of the year because they got linebackers back from last year that were injured. And they bring a lot of experience back in the secondary, and they've got an all Big 12 player up front in Dominique Orange on the defensive line. So I think that helps. I think that's where K-State's strength is going to be a little bit too, especially early in the year. I know they're expecting a lot from Avery Johnson, but at the same time, I think maybe that pressure gets to him a little bit in this first game too. So I think it's going to take a while for the two teams to feel each other out at the beginning of the game. That's why I think maybe it's going to stave off the points long enough to stay under that mark. I could see it going the way that you're saying too. I could definitely see this going over if the teams do catch their stride. But I'm just kind of banking on the fact that this is a different travel schedule, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it takes them a little while to get started, and that's why it stays under that point total. It's an odd number. It's right on that cusp of where you want to go with it. But again, since it's so hard to pick a winner, that yeah, I kind of wanted to go with the total more than the other way. So I'll go the other direction and go under here on this one. We'll see how it plays.
I'll add if if it's a 10-7 or 7-3 type of halftime score, I'm gonna be real nervous there. So it's more about kind of how it starts off because I think it'd be easier to if you get up to a quick start, you're like okay we're getting going, but with that you a little bit sluggish or a little bit slow out of the gate, then I'll be the one nervous. But either way, I guess one of us is gonna be right. So followers here pick the right side and you'll be in good shape at least on that total.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to get real close. I'm kind of thinking more like a 24-21, 21-18 situation. So it's going to be a fun game, and hopefully it's a good one that everybody enjoys watching to kick off the season as well. The next game that I know we're both going to take a look at here is the Kansas Jayhawks. They've got one against Fresno State to open up the season. They're back in Boo Stadium there in Lawrence, Kansas. Had all the renovations going on last year. They've still got a piece of the stadium that they're going to build after this season is done to fully complete it. But it does look great what they've done so far. They kind of went with the less is more mentality as far as the capacity is concerned there. The seats aren't going to be like a whopping number, but it looks like they've done a good job as far as, making the amenities good and making it a good atmosphere for them to play in. So I'm sure they're going to be excited to be able to play back on campus again. And Fresno State is an interesting team here. They do bring back some experience. I've got a little bit of firepower. I've seen some notes here and there on the web of people thinking that, they're a team that could potentially scare Kansas early in the season. I'm going to go the other direction on this one. I'm going to go with the total going over. 50.5 is the number. I feel like this is one that snowballs a little bit at the end. It may start a little bit slow, but I feel like there's also going to be some mistakes on both sides that lead to points that help rack this thing up. I think both offenses are capable of scoring. Kansas really struggled in the pass coverage game last year, and I don't know how much better they're going to be on that front. And it sounds like Fresno's got enough firepower to at least put some points on the board. So I'm going to go over 50.5. What are you thinking here?
I'm gonna hope. I'm gonna go with you there and hope that Fresno can put some points on the board because I actually like them to cover. It's a 12.5 point spread right now in favor of Kansas. So it's more of a fact of just like the same thing. It's a week one. It's early. Fresno State's always seemed to be one of those teams. It's like you kind of score watching as the weeks go on and you see them. It's like they're giving UCLA a hell of a run or they got Boise on the ropes and typically they don't hold on, but they're like in the game. So I think they can be in this game with a Kansas team. I mean, both coming off losing seasons. And like I said before, I know last season doesn't mean a lot for this year, but at this point, it's kind of what you got to look at. And I know, what is he, a 35-year-old quarterback there in Daniels for Kansas. So you got some experience under the belt. Of course, I joke a little bit, but there is lots of transfers coming in. And that's not a bad thing, especially with the way that the football, this movement is with teams and players changing addresses. But at the same time, it's like, can you expect those players to mesh right away when you have that amount of transfers, especially for the Kansas offense is kind of where I'm looking at here. So that was kind of another thing, maybe saying, they win win a 10-point game or something like that, or kind of maybe it's ugly early and they pull away there, but still within, that 13-point victory. So I'm kind of going to go that route. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but I just don't see like it's coming off that what they did last year. I can't see them just blowing people out right out of the gate. But I guess that's why they play the games. We're going off paper as of right now.
Yeah. We got a couple of different games I think that we're each going to touch on here next. So I'll go to the next one. I guess I got on my list here, and that's the one I was going to make a pick at here. It's a 6:00 kickoff Saturday. Western Kentucky and Sam Houston State, two teams that have been interesting at times. They've been good enough to scare teams and win some big games here these last couple of years, but there's a lot of turnover for both these two teams if you look into it. I think Sam Houston has to replace 11 starters on defense. So everybody, it's a fresh slate. They've got a new coach. Sounds like they're going to turn towards more of an air raid attack, which is worrisome for them, I think, because the quarterback that they're going to have run it threw for 1,800 yards last year, which isn't exactly thinking air raid to me. So that's an interesting one. Western Kentucky does have a lot of turnover too, as far as their personnel is concerned. They do have a couple of coordinator changes that are happening also, but they do have their head coach back. So there's a little bit more continuity there. They've got a little bit more firepower back because they have their senior quarterback, Maverick McIver, back or in. He transferred over from Abilene Christian, came over with his O coordinator there, and he threw for 30 touchdowns last season. So a guy that has some offensive experience. So the line is 10 that Western Kentucky's laying. So it is a fairly large number. But I think that especially them playing at home, they're usually pretty good at home early in the season. I'm going to take them to cover that 10 and win there and give the 10 there to Sam Houston State and win it. SJ, you're looking at the nightcap game there, the old Hawaii Warriors.
Yeah, this usually one of those like we had the Pac-12 after dark, and this is like whatever after dark. I mean, this is almost like Sunday morning, or the early Sunday morning football before the NFL try to take over that window. But honestly, like I guess as far as teams that go out there go, Stanford's made a fair amount of trips out, to the islands there, so it's not like it's out of the ordinary. So I know that's like the first thing that comes up is the time change and the travel and all that type of thing, which I do think it's a factor. I'm not like blowing it off and saying nothing, but as far as the opponents that head that way go, it's pretty common the commonplace there for that. So it's not a big of a deal. But just looking at the game itself, both teams coming off disappointing seasons, particularly Stanford just miserable, and they've got all kinds of issues. I mean, just get an interim coach out of nowhere, and Frank Reich. It's like, what are we doing here? And then Andrew Luck comes and kind of thinks he's calling the shots there again as the GM, I guess is his title there. So, and then I mean, the same thing. All I can look at is their most recent results, and they finished the year 1-8, so that's not a good sign. But I'm more looking at how the game's going to play out. Like overall, just it's too hard to pick a winner in these early ones, really. So that's why kind of we're playing where we're at. But I'm going to look at that total again. Even when looking at Hawaii, it's like you when you think of Hawaii, all you think is like you said air raid. That's all you think of is throwing the ball all over the place. But last year they only averaged 22 points per game, and they only scored over 20 in 4 of their 12 games. So that's like way out of the ordinary. You wouldn't, and I had to check 3 or 4 sources. I'm like, is this right? Because that's not Hawaii. Like, they may not win, more games than, they might lose, the big contest, or you might come up short, but they're scoring 30 or 40 points a game, you would think at least, but that wasn't the case last year. So with all that said, the issues at Stanford, Hawaii kind of not being the offensive, juggernaut we've known in recent years, I'll go ahead and play the unders 52.5 because that's a little high anyway. So I'll take the unders on that one and hope that the offenses are slow start to the season. Maybe they can work things out as the year goes on, but it feels like maybe early on it could be an ugly affair between these teams that are kind of struggling, overall, let alone scoring points.
Yeah, like that play a lot. So those are the plays that we have here for week 0 of the college football season. It's not going to take long for the season to pick back right up after that, because there are a bunch of games on Thursday the next week, including your squad right in your backyard there, Nebraska taking on Cincinnati at Arrowhead. So we'll probably have another video out for you probably pretty quick early next week too, here to talk about or include those games also. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, we would love it if you would just lock in for the season here, like, subscribe, get the notifications here on this channel, so you're always getting our picks week to week, and of course maybe midweek sometimes if there are some fun Thursday night games to look at. And then of course also following us on Twitter. You see the handles there at SGM Bets, at Cherokee CP. You can follow along. We'll post our picks and our graphics there. And of course, a lot of the, live interaction stuff too. Things happen on game days. You start to, peek in on games that get interesting, or live bets, that look intriguing after the game starts. Might talk about that. So feel free to follow us there, and then get some of that info and let us know what you're thinking too at the same time. We'd love that. And then if you would like to subscribe and share the podcast, available on all the major platforms that that is Every Day We're Covering, whatever podcast source you love to use. We happen to have our main host at Spotify, but it's found everywhere, including on the YouTube feed. So if that's something you like to do, you can do that. And then we'll, of course, put that out for you every week. That usually comes out either late Sunday night or early Monday morning. And, of course, we'll have reactions from games the week before and then start to look ahead to the week following now that we get into the season. So exciting time of year. Love to get this thing kicked off and have some fun with making some plays and we'll start to hopefully, rack up that number in that little corner there in your app so that you're making progress as the season goes along.
Yeah, get that Christmas, fun started early here in August and September, and then you don't have to worry about it. They would come later and later in the year, and then you're stretching yourself and trying to put those 7-leg parlays together. We want to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, let's start it off strong here with some good plays. Those are our week 0 picks here from Every Day We're Covering. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for our picks here for week 0. We'll see you next time for some more covers.